everyone, I'm Gemma from Concrete Gems Crochet, and today I want to talk to you about the lovely Cosy Berry Hat and Gloves pattern. Now this tutorial is for the hat, which is super cozy and really thick and warm, and I've also got a separate tutorial for the gloves. The pattern, the written pattern, includes both the hat and gloves in one pattern. So if you buy the pattern, that's what you get both sets, and then you'll have links to both of the different video tutorials. I just wanted to keep them separate so that they're not too long. Now today I am going to be making the smallest size. Now this is the medium hat size and the medium gloves, which fit me as a something old adult. And I'm going to be making the smallest size hat today. So that is the 6 to 12 month size hat. Now it comes in 6 to 12 months, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 6 years, 7 to 10 years, and then you get teen/small adult, medium adult, and large adult. So that is the sizes of the hat pattern. So the pattern is made using this lovely textured stitch. It's called the even berry stitch, and I use it in both the hat and the gloves, and it's got lots of lovely texture, and it's really nice and cozy and thick. So I'm going to be using, for this tutorial, I'm going to be using Caron Simply Soft, but you can use any acrylic yarn that you want to use. Any worsted weight yarn or Aran yarn that you want to use. Acrylic is good, but my gloves and hats, they were made using an Aran yarn that was 75% acrylic and 25% wool. So any combination works quite well if you can handle the itchiness of the wool on your head. I'm not very good at that, so I prefer to use acrylic for hats. But as I said, this one has 25% wool in it. This yarn was from Aldi, so if you're in the UK, it's at the Aldi So Crafty range, their Aran yarn, which is really quite nice actually, and it's a good budget yarn. But if you're not in the UK, then you won't be able to get hold of Aldi yarn. So as I said, any Aran or worsted weight yarn will be good. The paint box Simply Aran, that's quite good for this project, and also this one. So I'm using a 4.5mm hook, which is the recommended hook size, but obviously you need to do a gauge swatch and check that your gauge matches. Otherwise, change your hook size accordingly. So let's get started. I'm going to take the gloves off because I don't think I can. Well, I probably can crochet with gloves on, but you know, I will take them off for this, and I will detangle my yarn now. So as I said, I'm making the 6 to 12 month yarn. This video is in US terminology. If you've bought the pattern in UK terminology, then you will simply adjust it. There aren't that many stitches that are different for this pattern. So you've got, if I mention a single crochet, that's a UK double crochet. And I think that's about it. I think everything else is the same. So to start the hat for the 6 to 12 months, I'm going to chain 54. So if you are wanting to make a different size hat, head over to the written pattern, either the premium PDF pattern, which has schematics and stitch tutorials and all of that stuff, or head over to the blog where you can view it for free as a subscriber. So I am going to start chaining 54. Okay, so that is my 54 chain stitches. So then we are going to do single crochet, but we're not going to go into the second chain from the hook for this pattern. We're going to go into the third chain from the hook. So into that chain stitch, and we're going to do a single crochet in each stitch all the way along. Okay. Okay, so I have done my single crochets all the way across. So you'll have 52 single crochets if you're doing the 6 to 12 month size. Okay. So then we are going to turn and we are going to chain one. Okay. We're going to skip this very first stitch here and we're going to work into the next stitch. Okay. So now we're going to start making the berry stitches. Okay. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to insert our hook into the stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull through a loop. Then you've got 3 loops on your hook. And you yarn over again and insert your hook back into the same stitch. Yarn over and pull through. So now you've got 5 loops on your hook. And we yarn over and we pull through all 5. It can be a bit fiddly and you can catch the stitches, so just be careful doing that. And then we chain one and that just secures the stitch. Now that chain one doesn't count as a stitch, so when you come to the next row we need to be super careful that we don't include that chain in our crocheting. Okay, but I'll show you when we get there. Right, so we've done that. That's the first berry. Then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do another berry. So yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, insert into the stitch again, yarn over and pull back through. So now you've got your 5 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 5, and then we chain one. And the next stitch is a slip stitch. And that is our repeat pattern all the way along. So we do our berry, we secure it with a chain one, and then we do a slip stitch. Okay, I'll show you one more time. Yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over again, insert back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all the loops, chain one, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. And that is your repeating pattern. So do that all the way across this row, and then I will meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm just getting to the end of my row. So this is a slip stitch one. So this last berry goes into this very last stitch, okay? Just in exactly the same way as before. And then chain one, and then we've got to do our final slip stitch, and that goes into the turning chain. Okay, so it's quite fiddly to get it to find where it goes on the stitch, so it's into here. That makes sense. You go into there and then you have to kind of turn it around and find the other side of that stitch, which is always really like a bit fiddly. So I'm just kind of wriggle around until you get into the other side of that stitch. Okay, and that will be our final slip stitch in there. Try and keep the slip stitches quite loose as well, otherwise you will struggle getting them in subsequent rows. Okay, so we're going to turn now, and you can already see the berry stitches appearing. So our next row we are going to chain one, And do you remember what I said about the chain stitches? Very hard to see, isn't it? So the chain stitches, you think of it working this way. This was your berry, this was your chain, and this was your slip stitch. So we need to work into the top of the berry. So we're not going to work into the chain, we're going to work into that stitch. That is the top of the berry, okay? So we've chained one and we're going to go into the top of the berry. So that's there. Not focusing very well. Okay, so we've done a slip stitch in there. Okay, so we're going to work into the top of the berry in there. So we do a slip stitch there. Then we're going to work into our slip stitch from before, which is quite a tight space to get into. I don't know if you can see that. It is there. So you have to push your hook right through it. And you're going to do a single crochet in that stitch. Okay. So then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the next berry. So you've got your chain stitch here. So we skip that one and we go into there with a slip stitch. And then we single crochet into the slip stitch from the row before, which is that one. And we carry on like that. So we're slip stitching into the top of the berry, making sure to skip that chain and then single crochet into the slip stitch, which is in between the berries, okay? So you're skipping this chain here and you're slip stitching into here, and then we're single crocheting into the next stitch, which was your slip stitch from the row below. Okay, so we just carry on across like that all the way to the end. Okay, so I've nearly got to the end of my row 3. I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of the final berry. So that is this one. It looks a bit different, but you can tell that there's the chain and that's the slip stitch. So we go into that one. Oops, try not to split the yarn. And then we need to do a final single crochet, and that again is going into the turning chain at the end. So again, it's a bit tricky to find. I kind of find if you work out where the bottom of the stitch is, you can just get through the 2 layers like that. So that is our repeating pattern there. So we have done our row 1 was our single crochet. So our rows 2 and 3 are our repeating pattern. So we're going to turn and we're going to carry on repeating that. So for the size 6 to 12 months, which is the size that I'm making, you need to do 25 rows in total. So you'll end on a row 3 repeat, and you will just keep repeating rows 2 and 3 for the number of rows that you need to make for your size. Okay, so it's exactly the same. The last stitch of each row always goes into that turning chain, and you skip the first stitch. And that's it really. Do the berries on one row with alternating with slip stitches, and then you do slip stitches alternating with single crochets on the other row. Obviously you can just reverse the video if you can't remember how to do the stitches properly, because I show you there. And yes, be careful you don't split your stitch like I did just there. Split your yarn, sorry. Right, so let us carry on and do those rows in our own time, and we will meet back when we have a completed rectangle. Don't fasten off until you've watched the next bit, because I'll show you how to join it together into a hat. Okay, so I have finished my 25 rows, which is for the size 6 to 12 months hat. And now we're going to join it together into a tube. So I'm going to fold it with the right sides facing each other into just long ways. And then what we're going to do is we are going to do a single crochet through both of the seams. Now I'm going to go through 2 loops on each side where I possibly can, just to make it quite a strong seam. It's quite a sturdy hat, so it can be quite a sturdy seam as well. So just go through where you can. So working into the row ends, it's quite often quite difficult to get through, but just make sure that you're working quite evenly and your seam is held together. You can put stitch markers through to hold it in place if you find that helpful. So I'm just going through, so it's 4 layers really, four loops that we're going through roughly. It doesn't matter if you find it if it feel like it's not coming through very evenly. It's quite forgiving, this part of the pattern, so just oopsie, work through where you can, and if you just carry on all the way along, doing the same, going through both layers, pushing your hook through, doing a single crochet, then I will meet you at the other end. Right, so I've finished off my seam now, as you can see here, and I'm just going to cut my yarn. I'm going to leave quite a long end though, so if you do the same and then just pull through. So now I'm going to thread my needle. And what we're going to do is we're going to close the top now. So we're going to start by weaving our needle in and out every couple of stitches. So it doesn't have to be very exact, but just keep pulling it through in this space. There's almost like a natural space that you can see as you go around, and kind of start gathering it up as you work. And that's why you needed quite a long end. Oh, sorry, hitting the camera with my long end. Working around. And we are nearly finished with our hat. We're just going to add a cuff. Which obviously, if you don't want to add a cuff, you don't have to. It's quite a cute hat without it. And you will see it momentarily. Just finish the last little bit of gathering. Right, so I'm back at the start now. Put that way up. There you go, so you can see. So just pull it really tight till the hole disappears, and then kind of still holding it tight. You then want to, well, there's 2 options. You can either tie it to your other end, is a good way to secure it, but you will also still need to weave it through. So I just tend to kind of go around the opening again now that it's all gathered, just making sure it's all tightly woven together. You can go back on yourself again. You don't want it coming undone, do you? So there we go. So you can then weave that end in a little bit. And fasten off, and obviously you want to weave in the other end you've got there as well. And then you can turn it the right way around and see your cute little hat in all its glory. So now you can decide whether you want to add a cuff or not. Now, if you do want to add a cuff, we'll do that now. So I'm going to join it at the seam. Actually join it the one before the seam. That makes quite a nice join. Just pull my yarn through and rejoin. And I'm going to chain, I'm just going to do that to join it on, and then I'm going to chain 5. Okay. And we're going to do a single crochet into the second chain and into each chain across. So we'll end up with 4 single crochets. And then we are going to pull that bit a bit tight. Then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Now watch out for that, because if you're working right by the seam, a bit uneven just there. Right, so then you turn and we're going to work back up. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to do a single crochet into the back loop only of each of those stitches. So that's into that one. You're going to have 4 stitches on every row, so that's quite easy to remember. And into that last one at the top. And we're going to carry on like that. So we're going to turn. And we're going to chain 1 and then 4 single crochet into the back loops back down towards the hat. When you get to the hat, then you're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches on the hat. Make sure it's 2, otherwise you'll end up with like quite a baggy brim. And I know it looks quite small, but it's just going to fold over like that and make a little rim for your hat. Obviously the adult ones are bigger than the child versions, and if you are, so if you're making any of the adult sizes, your brim is going to be 8 stitches tall rather than 4, and the middle sizes there's 6 as well. But check out the blog post, because that's got all the details, or if you want everything in one place, then consider getting the premium PDF pattern, because that has got a lot more detail on it, and I would definitely recommend that. You can print it out, keep it, do what you want with it then as well. So we're just going to carry on like that all the way around the hat. So you chain 1 and then you do 4 single crochets into the back loops. Turn again. Don't get your yarn in a twiggle. Chain 1, 4 single crochets, and then slip stitch into the next 2 stitches of the hat body. We're going to keep going all the way around, and when you get to back to the beginning, you're going to join your, you'll have a seam like that, you're going to join that together with a slip stitch seam, and then you will have finished your hat. Okay, so I have gone all the way around now with my ribbing, as you can see here, and I have got to the end. You should have the same number of rows as you had stitches per row for your main body, if that makes sense. And then we're just going to finish off by doing a little slip stitch seam. So I'm going to go into that loop there, and I'm going to go into that loop there. I've kind of missed the loop a little bit. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both. So you're just slip stitching across through all of the stitches, and that will finish off your hat really nicely. So as I said before, I'm sure all of the different sizes for the patterns are available. I've put the links in the description below. You can either get them off Etsy or Ravelry, or they're free to view on the blog for subscribers. So that means if you need to set up a Grow account, it's really easy to do. You just follow the instructions on the screen and subscribe, and then you'll get free access. So there we go. That is my hat finished. I'm just going to fasten that off. You've got a couple of ends to weave in, but that's not a big deal. And there's your cute little hat. So feel free to add a pom-pom to the top of it if you want. Possibly not for the baby sizes, but you might want to. It's up to you entirely. You can either make a pom-pom using a pom-pom maker, using the same yarn or a different yarn, or you can buy a pre-made pom-pom and just sew it on. Make sure you sew it on quite securely for the baby ones. So there you have it. That's the end of the tutorial. I'll put a link up here for the mittens tutorial, which is a matching pair of mittens that you can make. And I think that is all. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again for another tutorial. Happy crocheting, everyone!